God gave you one more day in the morning whenever you wake up, can you put a priority into what is the one thing that I'm going to do to improve this relationship? Did you truly submit yourself and say, hold on, God, what is the one thing that you want me to improve on this relationship? Or better, who's the one person that I need to go seek counsel from for this particular issue that I'm going through? And God will help you.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Walk Podcast. This is a place where we can answer honest questions, talk about hard issues, and walk alongside one another as we explore how spirituality fits into real life. I'm your host, Gil Shelsby, and today we are talking to Luis and Cary Machado about what it looks like to build a Christian marriage. Luis and Cary both serve at Mountain's Aberdeen campus, Luis as the campus pastor and Cary as the kids pastor. They are a retired military family with a solid 18 years of marriage and two lovely teenage daughters. They've learned a lot over the years, and we're excited for them to share a little bit of their wisdom. Marriage can be such a tricky topic. There's such a wide variety of experiences with marriage and 1,000 different visions of what a healthy marriage looks like. We are a community that believes that this topic matters, and we want to equip one another to build marriages that flourish. So no matter where you're at, I hope you find this conversation clarifying, helpful, and full of hope for what your marriage can look like. Let's jump into our conversation with Luis and Cary. I'm sitting across the table from Luis and Cary Machado. What up, guys? How we doing?
Let's go. Doing good, man. I'm glad you're here. Glad to be here too with Cary and you to share some wisdom a little bit, some nuggets.
I was told we were going to have coffee and have a good time. So that's what I'm here for.
And that's what you're here.
Yes.
And we're doing that. We're sitting across the table with some coffee, talking marriage today. We're talking, what does a healthy marriage, maybe a God-honoring marriage look like? I think we have a lot of people who are maybe they're thinking about marriage. Should I get married? Should I be with this person? Or maybe they're young in their marriage journey, or maybe they've been down the road and been married for a long, long time. All of us probably are discerning, how do we get a little bit of wisdom on how to walk through the marriage thing well? We're excited to talk about it. So
Absolutely. I love it.
All right, first question. What's the biggest fight you've ever gotten in? I'm just kidding.
Oh, I like that. You came straight to the
It was
point.
over a
dude.
dog.
We don't have to go there
The
yet.
ghetto's going to come out right now.
I'm just kidding. Maybe we'll get there. I don't know. There will be a lot of people probably who know you and recognize your voices from around the mountain community. But why don't you tell a little bit about who you guys are, maybe how you met, kind of your story and marriage story up to this point.
So Luis and Cary Machado. So we currently pastoring in our Aberdeen community, but we met in a boarding school in Puerto Rico, and it's resident school. So we stay every 2 weeks, for 2 weeks at a time. We stay at this high school, and then we go back to our own towns. Mm-hmm. So I'm from the Northwest, and she's from the Midwest type of the island in Puerto Rico.
40 minutes from each other.
Yeah,
okay.
so like 40 minutes apart. So we knew each other since high school. That's about 25 years now. Ooh, I'm telling my age now. Fun fact in there is I was Cary's boyfriend for a weekend.
Oh, he had to go there.
Oh.
Yes, I definitely went there. I was like, hey, do you want to be my girlfriend on a Friday?
Is this high school?
In high school.
Okay.
And she said yes on a Friday. But that Friday, we needed to go to
That's the
our
weekend.
town.
We were supposed to go.
You were going home.
Yeah, we're going home. So I come back on Sunday, and she was like, I don't want to be with you anymore. And Cary, you want to explain the reasons for?
Because he didn't come to see me during the weekend. I'm like, you're not committed enough. You're not serious about this. You're not giving me the time that I want and
so
deserve.
You started on Friday.
Yes.
And
you went long distance, basically.
Yes.
One day, and I did not visit her. And now I'm on fire as
Which
a boyfriend.
honestly was so unfair because it was the only chance he had to see his family and his siblings. And here I am, a bit selfish, concerned about where were you that you didn't come to visit. And he could not drive either. You would depend on your parents to drive here.
Of course.
Yeah.
But then on Sunday, hey, this is a nugget right here. I told her when she fired me as a boyfriend, I told her, "You be back, you be mine." And
I was so mad when he said that. I'm like, you are 15 years old. You don't even know what you want. And he brought that memory back when I said yes in our ceremony. He's like, didn't I tell you you'll be back?
He was right.
Of course I brought it back. Of course I brought it back. So we reunited back in 2005 as I was doing a tour from the military, transferring from North Carolina to Oklahoma. And she was doing her research for her PhD in Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. And she was like, you could come visit me as long as mom is here. And Cary,
I was trying to walk straight.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Mm-hmm. And then what happened whenever I got there?
She was like, I wish my mom wasn't here.
That's right.
But it was good. She was there.
Yeah, it was good. So in 2005, we're like, hey, we are both pursuing a relationship. We want to make sure we're serious about it. And we say like, hey, we're not playing around. So if you give me 100%, I'll give you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the keys that has helped us since that, because we at all times say this is 100% investment for each other.
Mm-hmm.
In America, we see how it's a 50-50 type of deal. And we always say that, oh, you give me 50, I'll give you 50. No, that's transactional. How about you give yourself fully to this? So since we met back in January 2005, by May, we were married.
Wow.
Actually, no, by December, we were married.
We got engaged.
We got engaged on May. Actually, that is you're definitely going to have to clip this, Emily, because our daughters don't know this. So we got technically married in the courthouse on May 27 in Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Just so in the military, Memorial Day weekend, we have that free every time.
Right.
We get 4 day weekends every time.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we made sure that every year we celebrate our anniversary, it was going to be a long weekend.
It was going to be a long weekend.
Man, planned it out right.
Planned it right.
That's
but
good.
then we did a big ceremony for our whole family in Puerto Rico on December 15th. So
Cool.
That's why we get confused with our anniversaries. We celebrate
You have
twice
to.
a year.
Oh, you're being so graceful. I always say December 14th, he looks at me.
Yeah. Once again, she's the man of the relationship. She forgets dates.
She forgets the dates.
Yeah,
You've got them. You've got them unlocked.
I got them unlocked.
I will say when we were in high school, I was like, he's too much of a party boy, too much energy 24/7. I don't think I want that, for the rest of my life. I wanted a Christian boy. We went our separate ways 2005. He was still this passionate, full of energy, 24/7 Luis, but it was on fire for God. That made the difference. I was like, oh, did he change? No, but he changed the reason why, and what he's passionate about. And that was jaw-dropping. It's like, yep, you're coming back. I'm kidding. You're mine now.
A vivid memory was the first time that we went back to church after we reunite. We both like scared because we were like, oh, we each other pursue a relationship we got separately. So our destinies did not link up together. So we each other had an opportunity to meet God individually. So we were all scared. The first time I was like, oh man, I wonder if she worships. I wonder if she reads the scripture. I wonder how she reacts into worship.
Yeah.
And I remember our first experience in church.
I closed my eyes and I'm like, Lord, let him be worshiping.
That's right.
And then I looked to the side and he was like going all out, dancing and clapping his hands and singing, whether he can make a joyful noise or just noise, but he was out there.
Noise.
Yeah.
I do not sing. Definitely is noise. But that was
cool.
really a good memory from when we reunited back in 2005. Say, hey, we're gonna be committed because our relationship with God is strong.
We can be stronger together.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we was perfect because the Christian pathway or the Christian faith in Christian walk is not a perfect straight line, but at least we were committed to a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
And before we even say, let's pursue a relationship together.
Yeah. You were the same people, right? All those years before, in some ways, like that part of it is still in you, but God had brought you separately. I think that's a really cool thing. It doesn't happen that way that often, where God does a work in each of you individually. And then when the time was right, you were back together. And now God is out here using you in the way that he's using you. And Luis, I would say you're still quite the party boy on a Sunday morning.
Of course,
okay? Bring the energy. So
I am the 24/7. If you need a party, I'm the guy.
It's just directed towards God's kingdom these days.
Course.
That's pretty good. All right, well, let's get into it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff out there about marriage, and I mean, a bajillion different books written on it. Given all the stuff that's out there, what are some myths that you all see when it comes to the marriage question, and what makes a marriage great or healthy or right or the way God designed it? Especially around Christian marriage, what are some myths that you guys see?
I think a lot of the myth is that marriage is easy. I think everybody have a fallacy that because they think that you're a Christian, that your marriage is gonna be an easy. It's easier, but it's not easier. It's, if let me explain a little bit on that, or that we don't have nothing to do or nothing to work in the marriage because we have Christ. That's a myth. I think marriage is work, and people think and have the idea that they don't have to work in the marriage.
Like
they don't have to
they've
pursue.
made it. They've just
They
arrived.
made it. They arrived.
As an arriving point, or even whenever if I put it in the Christian faith, it's something similar. It's like baptism. People think because they got baptized, oh, that's my arrival point. When it's a place of birth. So marriage is almost the same like that. Whenever
it's the start of a journey.
It's the start of the journey together. And it requires work. Like even God himself say, go be laborers. We call laborers of the ground that I have given you. And we have to do the same in a marriage, to do some work. Even I made the mistake that thinking like, oh, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
That was my mentality back in my early stages on our marriage. That I say, hey, Cary, man, we got a good marriage. We get along. Had you heard that before? We get along.
Yeah.
But that's not work. It's not. It's not.
You're saying you, by all accounts, you seem like things were fine. There was nothing to work on.
Of course.
And so you can get lazy early on in the relationship.
Of course.
Yeah.
He used the word work. I use the word serve, because it's like, if Jesus came to serve, who are we to think we're better than Jesus?
That's good, Cary.
And if God gave me Luis, I see him as a gift, and God gave him myself. It's like selfless work. It's like how I can serve you, not because I want something from you, but it's my way of saying I love you and I love God as well. It's my way of loving.
It's like a selfless act. So
Selfless
it's like
act.
a lot of people think that the marriage is what a myth is like. You trying to get, you're gonna get everything from this person and suck everything out of this person.
He'll complete you.
That to complete you.
Yeah.
But it's not true.
Yeah.
The act of marriage is that we surrender ourselves to each other in order to push and help grow the relationship together. I love something that we say, like a lot of people have this myth as well, that how you get what you get.
And you don't throw a fit.
And you don't throw a fit. Like why we say that is because a lot of folks think, oh, I'm this way. I don't need to change.
Or we women have the tendency to believe we're rescuers, and we'll marry him and fix him up and and it's like, it is not my job as a woman to do that. However, we believe in a God that is bigger and able to do anything. So when it becomes a matter of change, it is not up to me. It's up to God to make the change. But where we sometimes fail is we think we are to pray for God, change my husband. And in reality, God has to work in us. There are things that we can work to either relinquish and be like, God, I surrender, you take the wheel. So it's more of like, okay, God, what are you trying to teach me? Instead of thinking the myth is I can change him. No, I can't. I'm not God.
And I love also in the midst of we discovering or praying, like, God, what are you trying to do in me first? And God will reveal some things that you need to be transformed, or even or some of the areas that you will like, oh man, I have an angry issue. Or
if nothing reveals that, marriage probably will.
Marriage will definitely reveal it. Because if you truly seeking, like, God, transform me from the inside out, make me a better person so I could be a better spouse. I think those things come out, and it's up to us to be self-aware and for us to actually lean into God and say, God, I cannot do this on my own. I need you. I need your dependency. I depend on you to be able to transform that. So as a man, I know for me, that's a struggle to be able to, at the beginning of the stages, that's what my mentality was on our marriage. It was like, hey, I don't have to fix this marriage, because I don't want to go down this route to discover
what is wrong with us.
What is wrong with me. But when you find freedom in Christ, you could truly ask those hard questions to God and say, God, make me a better person. And then you go down the rabbit hole. But at the same time, if you both in the same transformative journey, you will understand that we depend on each other for that transformation. And the safe place and the mercy from the other person and the grace for your spouse will come to play a role into this, in this transformation. So it's great when you see those things align, when you could point towards Jesus transforming at the same time that you're seeking each other.
For Christian marriage is we assume that you will naturally pray together.
Oh, yes.
And we don't. We have to be diligent on that. And we ourselves, we're guilty of that.
Yeah, we are.
There's times that we get in the hustle and bustle of life and work and ministry and our kids. And then it's like, wait, hold it. And we know I'm praying for him. He can tell, or I send him a text, or at night I just put my hand over his shoulder and I pray for him, and I know he's praying for me. But to do it together, it's so powerful. So what we have come to realize, yes, this is a downfall of us, like that we're not able to do this as constant as we like. However, it didn't stop there. We noticed what we were not doing. So what are things that we can do to recalibrate ourselves and to point us back to what we should be doing, not only with each other, but also connecting with God? So we do 21 days of fasting and prayer, the two of us, twice a year, January and August. And it's where we intentionally spend time. It's 21 days, early in the morning, doing the thing together. But it's like, I can tell you, ladies, and I think for the males, I can speak for them too, is like, there's nothing sexier than having my husband connected to God.
That is sexy talk right there. That is sexy talk.
It's like, yes.
Hey, man, if you're listening to this, for real, take that nugget. Pray for your wife. That's sexy. She's going to like it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
It's it's one of those things, especially for young people who get married, like that's the advice you get is like, vaguely like keep God at the center of your marriage, pray together often. But then it's like you get into it and you're like, well,
how do I do this?
And how, and how do we do it together? And so I think it's really cool to hear you guys felt that need and then said, we need some sort of regular rhythm for us to say, like, no matter what, we're going to block it out. That's going to be a part of our rhythm for 21 days or whatever. Like,
it's twice a year. So it's technically like 42 days in a year that you truly intentional praying for your spouse. That doesn't replace the nightly, the pray every night for your spouse, that we're trying to strive to do that. And we fail. Don't get me wrong. We do fail. Sometimes we literally say, hold on, Cary. Even if I'm putting my hand on her during the night, she knows that I'm trying my best to pray every night for her. So don't look at it as a goal or a checklist that I'm going to pray for my wife every night, because you're truly going to fail. I'm sorry. You're going to fail. But if you have pockets in your year that you truly intentionally seeking God in prayer for your spouse, it will be incredible. So set that aside. Ready for the next one? I think we have a couple more minutes.
All right,
that we
let's
could
keep
go
going
down.
then.
Well, I have one more, and I was like, how ready is the audience for this kind of real talk with Cary and Luis.
Okay,
and it's
let's go.
intimacy for Christian marriage.
Sure.
Married couples doesn't have to be boring. You cannot just sit back and say, well, I got her. Oh, no, we have this thing that we call chore playing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're like, what?
Okay, go on.
Oh, yeah. Keep going. I like this.
Well, it's like you like this part, huh?
Of course. My love language is physical, so trust me, I could do this. But before we get into intimacy or how to get there, I think it's great to acknowledge one of the tools that we have done and used, especially on this myth of intimacy needs to be boring if you're a Christian, is we going back and did an assessment into what is our love language.
Tell me a little bit more about love languages. Like, what is that for people who might not know it?
So 5 Love Language is a book written by Gary Chapman, and he goes into say that we all communicate differently. The way that we receive love could be a little bit different. So for me, a physical, that doesn't mean that needs to be all in the sexual act. But for me, it's like putting my hands on my shoulder, grabbing my hand. That's how you demonstrate for me proximity.
That's how he will feel loved. And that does not come natural to me. Right. That is
Everyone
like
has
speaking
a different
Chinese
way
to me.
Oriented.
So for him, it's physical contact. There's acts of service is another one.
Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. Gifts.
Quality time.
So for Luis, he will come home, an example, and he was waiting for me to drop everything and just give him a hug because he's physical. That was his love language. And for me, it was acts of service. So when he came home, I wanted him to see the house clean. Look what I did. And he's like, that's not how I feel loved.
Yeah.
But I was not able to get there.
Right.
I was like, why aren't you appreciating? Why don't you feel love the way I'm showing love to you?
Right.
And with this book, it helped us at the very beginning of our marriage to discover, because I'm speaking a completely different language. And here's the thing, that took vulnerability on us and being humble and be like, I don't know how to be physical without, getting into let's go to bed, and he was like, I just need you to hold my hand when we're driving. And I'm like, I can do that. Yeah, I can rub your shoulder when he's having a rough time.
You see, we're in the studio and I feel love right now.
There you go.
I touch his shoulder. Or this is so funny. He will be emptying the dishwasher. He's speaking my language, right? So I pass by, I pat him in the butt, and he's like, yes, I feel loved.
Let's go.
So there was an exchange of love right there.
So we are giving you some short play tools right here that you could do for real.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like learn your love language and then go
Learn
after
the other person too, yeah.
And it goes back to what Cary was saying at the beginning, is the fact of the act of service to your spouse. So if you know and discover what is the other person's love languages, intimacy is going to get really, 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 really fun because you're not trying to look at transactional. You just go into the serving mode to my spouse. Because a lot of men will fall short into this because they think, I'm going to take the trash. I'm going to keep a score on everything I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then by the time that you intend, you'll be like, oh, baby, you see all the 10 things that I did today?
Yeah.
What are you doing right now for me? So then it is not serving. It's what am I doing to get to the intimacy
checklist,
point.
Yeah.
It's a checklist.
But it's like you're thinking the intimacy is just in the room. And it's like, take it out of the room.
Yeah, of
in
course.
the car, in the living room, in the kitchen. And it's
everywhere.
Like, every time I pass by, I make it a point to just
wink
just
at your spouse, smile at your spouse,
Yeah.
do something different other than, hey, here's the culminating acts, like love your wife and your significant other entirely throughout the whole day, not just when it's time to go to bed. Like romance, the thing, like a good tool right here. Guys, touch it and let it go. Can you do that?
He says that often, and he works magic, people. He will come grab me and give me a kiss, and I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go. He wants something, and then he just go.
Take notes.
Take notes right here. It's going to help you.
Touch it and let her go.
Touch it and let it go. Like marinate it. Can you do
Yes.
that? Marinate it the whole day.
I'm a turkey. Marinate me all you want. It's all good.
So intimacy is a big, it's one of those big myths that it says it has to be boring, but it's not boring. It's what you make it out of it.
I love that. People think of sexuality too as like this isolated thing, and what you're describing is like a whole marriage built around intimacy with one another in every area of your life that feeds into that. I think that's a different way of looking at it, which is really good.
Yeah. So take the note of non-transactional
Mm-hmm.
and non-dominant. So one person takes the whole thing on control.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning if you don't try to be the one saying, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z because I'm going to make sure I dominate the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible teaches us to be loving to each other and affectious to each other. So how we do that is by serving each other, and then don't control the whole thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
can you just let go?
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the touch it and let it go.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
There you go. And now that you say that, when we talk about transaction, at the beginning of our marriage, I was guilty of, well, he did not take out the trash. He
Mhm.
did not do what I wanted him to do. So I am not giving him anything. You're not getting nothing tonight. You know, and it was like, well, nah, the Bible says we belong to each other. My body belongs to him. His body belongs to me. And it's like, what am I doing? Why am I punishing him?
Or depriving
him from the pleasures of enjoying, each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, don't make that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're mad at each other, just get naked in the bed.
Yes, it works. You
It
cannot
works.
be fighting with a person if you're naked in bed under the blanket. There is no more vulnerable act than trying to discuss a very strong topic under the covers and
You're
you're
both naked.
No,
You're not
you're
going to
like,
fight. You're going to communicate.
You-
Guys, trust me. You will communicate.
and you will listen, and then she will cuddle up because you're listening, and then the intimacy begins, and it will end as well. It's like beautiful all around. That's a good one. I forgot. Yeah.
There you go. We got it.
I love that. I love what you're describing. You mentioned the word transactional has come up a lot because there's such a difference, right, between the covenant of marriage and what it's meant to be, two people in a covenant relationship for the long haul, and like a contract, which is like, if you break this, you're not getting this, or it's over, that sort of thing. Like, there's such a different picture of what marriage actually looks like. Okay, let's talk. What does a healthy, God-honoring marriage look like? If you were to give just a couple nuggets.
If we were to summarize it in 3 things, it goes around whatever you do daily, it will build up to the
Weekly.
results, weekly, and the weekly results will give you in a year. So if I'm going to say 3 things, is pray daily with each other or by yourself. It is, yes, your relationship with your husband or your wife is important, but it's most important your relationship with God, because from there you will be so full, and you will be able to love on your spouse from the overflow that you're receiving from the time spending with God. So it's pray daily.
Also, it's a forgiveness daily.
Mm-hmm.
I think the forgiveness come into play humility, your posture, humility, to know that, hey, you messed up in some areas, and you got to acknowledge that and have that conversation. Don't go to bed angry. That's one of the things, one of the tools that we do, to not go to bed angry. Don't let it pass the very next morning. However, there's some times that you do need that whole space.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about, hey, I need some space.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna come back to this topic on this day.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to bed not resolving the issue,
Mm-hmm.
but at least you decided to say, hey, you know what?
We're going to talk about it.
We're gonna talk about it. Forgiveness is available,
Mm-hmm.
even though sometimes we don't understand
Mm-hmm.
why the other person hurt us or did this or
Mhm.
did X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
So the pray daily and forgive daily, I think that is a really good tool that we could add. And it goes back to habits. If you create daily habits, they flourish from there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think like, oh, I want to improve my marriage in a year. But they look at the year versus the things that we could do.
What are the little
now.
things
What's the
we
little
can do
things?
now,
Yeah.
that we can do now to get us there? So we think of daily, weekly, and yearly. So we pray and forgive daily. We date weekly.
Yeah, let's go.
We spend a lot of time, in the kitchen or running the kids around, sports events, church or with
Church.
friends, but it's like, when is intentional time for just you and me? It's not just being next to each other.
And look forward to that too. Like goes back to the marinate thing and touch it and let it go. So you do this really well. The other 6 days, that's exactly what you're doing. You are touching it, let it go. Touch it, let it go. It's daytime, boys. I'm telling you, undivided attention.
Undivided attention.
Undivided attention. I know how hard it is to put, like I'm guilty of this. I'll sit at the table and a date and I look at my phone. Like do this for me. Like literally take that phone and leave it in the car. If you go into a date and you go to a restaurant for that day, 2 hours, 3 hours that you're going to eat, leave it in the car. I know I'm telling you, your text messages will be there. I promise you, your emails will be there. I promise you, you're not missing nothing on social media.
And for moms, I promise you the kids will be there too.
Of course.
That's good.
You know? So it's okay for them to color for 1 hour, play on their iPad for 1 hour, because it looks different depending on the season of life that you're in. You know, there's times where date night looks like the girls are going to bed at 7:30, and what we have is from 7:30 to 8:30 because we didn't have a babysitter. But we put every excuse aside, and it wasn't like, oh, this is not going to work. It's like, how are we going to make this work?
Yeah, another myth in there in the dating is, oh, I don't have money to do a date. I'm sorry. Netflix is included in most of the plans.
A free movie.
It's just a free movie at your house. Hold the hands of the other person. Make some popcorn. $2.
You can go to Dollar Tree and get cards and, I don't know, do a craft. We have done paint nights. And what are we painting? Whatever you want. It doesn't matter. We're listening to music. We're talking to each other and we're painting. And ladies, don't think that always the date night, it is his responsibility to come up with it. He is dating me the same way I am dating him. So why would I give him all the pressure? It's like, no, that's too much. It's like, we can share this. And it's like, we're going to order, what is the box that they give you with food? Fresh, Eats Fresh or Hello Fresh. And it's whatever they send us, we're going to cook together. Let's see how that works.
That's good.
And again, it is not a big deal. We have gone for a walk. And it's like, we leave the phones at home. We go for a walk. We hold hands. And it's like, oh, this feels good. When was the last time we held hands?
Long time ago.
Simple stuff that you
Simple
forget
things.
about.
Doesn't have to complicate it. Don't make it complicated. And this is the nugget in this one when it comes to date weekly. You got to put it in your calendar.
Yeah.
If you don't put it in the calendar, it would not get done.
And don't be offended, women or men. Luis will prefer to have a little bit more freedom in his calendar. I am by the block. You will see me every 30 minutes. I know where I'm going to be, what I'm doing, all the things. And we came to understand how he was uncomfortable to put it in the calendar. But I'm like, if you have a dentist appointment, you will put it in the calendar because it's important.
Yeah.
So if you think I'm as important as the dentist, please put me in your calendar. So I sent him a calendar request.
And she better. So
But a lot of people think they think about being that intentional with it, and it just doesn't sound as maybe spontaneous or fun, but it's like that structure is what's actually going to let you guys connect with each other and make it important. And so it doesn't sound like the sexiest thing in the entire world, right? But like you said, if you don't schedule it out, it's probably not going to happen. True of all things in life. But
we try to be, as Christians, we try to be a good friend, a good parent, a good neighbor. And then you're trying to care for so many people. And at the end, what you're giving your husband is the leftovers. And it's like, no.
Priority.
Yeah. When is our date nights, Luis?
Mondays at 5 p.m. Let's go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Every Monday.
And if you have kids or you're thinking of having kids, we are modeling to our kids what it looks like to have a healthy marriage. So they know that the rhythms in our family is on Monday. My girls are like, what are you doing for date night with Papi? We call Luis Papi. Or they'll be like, Mom, I heard there's this new crumble cookie or new place. You should try it out. Yeah. I'm going to do that. So they give us ideas.
If you have kids, include your kids in the planning. It's fun.
It's fun.
That's great.
They will give you so many ideas. My creativity comes from my girls. So
yeah,
there you go. We went over daily, We went over weekly. Here's the last one. We got to retreat yearly. So every year, go on a trip by yourselves, no kids, no mother-in-law, just the two of you. And what did you do in this year? You could come back. And ideas for this is just do a review. How is our marriage doing? Ask yourself that question. Am I filling your love tank? That's a good question that you could ask each other during this yearly abandonment. So then you could come back and reset yourself for what is come. So we do that very intentionally on every May of every year. You are not going to catch Luis and Cary nowhere but
away from
everybody. So every May we go away, and doesn't need to be, you could get creative, get in a car, drive somewhere, camp. Let me know. I'll help you out. Just plan
It's
it.
important to get away.
Get away.
Get away. So you are away from distractions, from the kids, from work, from the rhythm, and you are spending intentional time with each other. And again, if you're thinking, what am I going to talk with him for 2 days? Well, let me tell you this. With the 5 love languages, I have learned that every season in life, my language changed. When the girls were little, my love language was acts of service. So it's like, please help me with that laundry. This is too much for me to keep up with.
Now it's quality time and words of affirmation.
Yes. But how did he figure that out?
Right.
When we were away, he mentioned something like, I noticed that it doesn't matter how many socks I fold. It's not making you happy, woman. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
I don't think he's happy. I think it's not demonstrating love.
Yeah.
Because that's too big difference
Yes.
from how our goals are not to make each other happy. Our goals is to demonstrate each other
Love.
Love one another.
Love one another. Because happiness will change, love will not.
Yeah.
And I see it as an investment in our marriage. I love being able to find a marriage conference, whether it's close by or a different state, and we will go. And it's at the beginning, 18 years ago.
You see, I told you guys.
18 years ago, we will say, let's go to this, marriage conference. And our mentality was, well, we're going to take a break from work. And what is the worst thing that can happen? That we learn something? Poof, we can live with that. And then it became a thing. We were like, whoa, it helped us guide conversations, how to have healthy conflict, how to be able to communicate with each other. And these were tools that we learned along the way by every year looking for that particular one that we want to attend that year. And at the end, we will come home with a different nugget.
That's so good.
And we understand too that lives do happen. Life happens, situation happens. And let's say we don't schedule this, or we schedule it and we have to reschedule it. Make sure you get rescheduled. It's not like you have to do these things daily, weekly, and yearly. But if you don't schedule them or reschedule them, that's when we start drifting away.
Yeah, the structure itself is evidence that you are actively fighting for it and making time for it and being intentional about how to love one another best. I think that's good. I love what you said too, because you create space intentionally for other people to speak into your marriage or take wisdom from other folks who are doing it. Even as long as you've been together, you still have other people speaking into it to some degree.
And it's a person that doesn't know. It's not a person that is like, woohoo, rooting for Luis, or a person rooting for Cary. It's a person that is rooting for both as a unit. And they don't know that what we're struggling with at home, but what they will share during that time will help us bring the conversation of something that we probably brush or sweep under the carpet because we didn't want to talk about it. We didn't know how to deal with it. And now we have the opportunity, the time, and the safe place to have these conversations. So that's something we do yearly. And here is another nugget. If you have kids, you probably have friends who have kids. Here is where you can be a blessing to somebody else so they can be a blessing to you. Offer to take their kids for a weekend so they can do the same.
There you go.
And then they will take your kids for that weekend, the following weekend, or whenever you guys arrange, and then you can take off.
Yeah.
It's all about how. It's not, oh, we can't make this work. No. Always remember, how can we make this happen?
Mm-hmm.
During these times as well, we have a lot of self-reflections too, in both in pray and forgive daily, in the day weekly, in the retreat yearly. We do those things, but we also self-reflect. And in here, we do a lot of things, especially when we come to managing expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we try to minimize this expectation that a lot of people could put on themselves, thinking like, oh, I had to provide this for my spouse.
Mm-hmm.
When God could only bring that thing that your spouse needs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, when it comes to the terms of happiness, joy, the peace, those are things that God brings to the spouse. Mm-hmm. So we minimize the expectations on each other in those times as well. So we have conversations around those too.
I had a tendency of having unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, he was like, there's nothing that I can do that seems to bring you joy. And it was during those times that Luis says, well, maybe what you need is more one-on-one time with God. Mm-hmm. And he felt like, ouch, but it's what I needed to hear at the moment.
It's also this opportunity help us as well for Cary and myself to be able to go deeper. And if we have a disagreement, we disagree in private. So me and her sitting, working through it, and these spaces, if you block it, it's going to allow you to have those discussions and disagreements. But we always praise each other in public.
Mm-hmm. That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
We always do that. We go out our way to praise each other in public. But that doesn't mean that you are faking it. But what it means is you're being truly intentional with loving your spouse and
building them up. The world does a really good job tearing them down, and it's part of my responsibility to build you up or build each other up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we often say it's just you and me, baby. You and me.
I love it. I was about to go on that topic. You and me, baby, means that we are good team players. So I think knowing that in this relationship, the best person other than God is your spouse. Mm-hmm. And they are for you and they are in your team. Mm-hmm. So working it together and knowing that boundary that, hey, we are on this together. Mm-hmm. Like I remember in 2005, for us in our wedding ceremony, the pastor got up there and he did something very profound for our wedding ceremony. And the pastor says, repeat after me. And he said, I renounce the word divorce in our marriage. And that stick with us because it was like that you and me, baby, type of deal. The team play that we play each other, that marked me for the rest of my life in order to know that, hey, I'm in this thing forever. Yeah. And I understand there's different circumstances. I understand that the world is chaotic and the world has fractures and there's sin on this world and there's evil on this world that it could get in between a marriage. I understand there's abuse. There could be all the areas. But if we say those words and we do the best that we can with what we have in our hands and treasure what we have in our hands, I think our marriages will get stronger. Mm-hmm. If we put intentionality and managing the expectations and do the hard things, because the easy ones not going to lead you to anything.
Mm-hmm. The hard stuff, daily, weekly, and yearly. I love that. That'd be really good, practical for a lot of people. Just in general, what have been the most helpful tools for you all over the years that have helped you kind of sustain and grow and keep things in your marriage healthy?
I'm going to start with a funny one and a fast one. A tool here. Flowers.
There you go.
Any other day other than Valentine's and anniversary.
There you go.
You got it.
I had come a long way because
Cary is affirming, yeah.
It's true because the society will tell you, the consumerism will tell you, hey, just give flowers on these Saturdays and you check the block. Goodbye. But if you do flowers any other reason. It's like, I was thinking about you and just brought you flowers.
Mm-hmm. Or for anything, yeah, like something unexpected.
Unexpected.
Yeah.
Before the flowers, I would say is one thing. You got to work in yourself, meaning your relationship with God first.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this triangle. Whenever God is describing in the book of Ecclesiastes that the three cords cannot be broken, it's truly putting God first in the relationship. So then your relationship with your spouse could grow. If both of you are pointing towards God, eventually that triangle is going to bring you closer, closer, and closer, and closer to each other. But if you don't do that first, that inner work that we have to do, and the awareness that we got to have, and the vulnerability and the humbleness that comes when you say, man, I messed up. I truly messed up this one. And go say, please forgive me. I messed up. And sometimes it's somebody else is pointing that at you. Like, don't get defensive all the time. Like, take the feedback and do something with it.
Yeah, oftentimes when either one of us apologize for something that we have done wrong, we have learned to say, I'm sorry for this. Because at the beginning, we were guilty of saying, I am so sorry. But we
For
were
what?
just saying sorry just so you can change your face and... Because I don't know what I did wrong, but we just need to move on so we can get in bed, So it's like we have grown. And the follow-up question is like, what can I do better next time? Because maybe he's doing that because that's what he learned or that's how he knows how to deal with that. So it's like, help each other out. He doesn't have to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
I love one of the things that Cary say about how to have somebody to speak into your life or another couple that you look up to help you navigate these things. Like that's a term for community. Like find community. A lot of when we say praise in public and correct in private, that private area could be in community with some other people that could help you navigate those hard decisions. So I think community matters. The world is trying to isolate the marriages, and the evil is trying to separate community from these healthy marriages because the enemy is going to try to isolate you, just like a pack. It's going to try to attack.
They're made for each other too. The marriage is for the purpose of the church and the community, and the community is there to support the marriage.
Luis often says, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Correct. So in this case, it's the 5 couples you hang out with. So look for people who are married and that they are having the same interest as you, which is growing closer to God, being the best spouse you can be. We don't want them to cover the sun with one hand, but it's like if there is something that we need to improve, then they're a safe place, of people with wisdom that can point you in the right direction to make things better. Or sometimes with that community, you can do a book. I don't think anyone is meant to be doing this alone.
So if you're a young couple, let's just be really clear. Like if you're a young couple and you feel like no one maybe sees what's going on in your relationship, you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to about it. I guess the advice is
getting community,
but also like find and ask out. Maybe like if there's a couple that's further down the road, I think it's okay to say like, hey, we want you to be a part of our marriage and invite you into offering some wisdom. So
of course, if God gave you one more day in the morning whenever you wake up, can you put a priority into what is the one thing that I'm going to do to improve this relationship? Because the flesh will want to do all kinds of things. But if you truly submit yourself and say, hold on, God, what is the one thing that you want me to improve on this relationship? Or better, who's the one person that I need to go seek counsel from for this particular issue that I'm going through? And God will help you. But it takes boldness too to go ask the person and say, hey, I understand you don't have your stuff all together, because that's a lie of the enemy. Thinking, oh, this couple looks incredible. They got all the stuff together. But you don't know the hard work that this couple has done to get there. So don't overestimate the painful road that this other couple has gone through, and just say, hey, I know you further down this road. Can you help me with this? Don't say the words of, you seem to have all your stuff together. That's not gonna work to have that ask.
Yeah, you'll find out pretty quickly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I'm telling you right now, we're in this podcast, and I feel that we feel the most unqualified people to talk about this, but at the same time, we feel the most real to talk about the subject because we have been
through hell and back.
On a marriage.
And I would say also, we missed it earlier, but the opportunity to say, we as a married couple, one of the things we decided was our marriage does not gonna look like what my parents' marriage looked like or what his parents' marriage looked like.
So good, Cary.
Because it could have been easy for us to say, well, that's how I was raised. This is how things were done in my mom's house. And that ended in divorce, infidelity, kids outside marriage, all those things.
Yeah.
And it was our commitment to each other and the covenants with God that we would do everything in our power with the help of God to make the difference and to end the cycle.
Did you feel like you brought in, maybe each of you brought in a bunch of expectations or ways of thinking about marriage that you had to maybe unlearn, like in the early years of your marriage?
Yes.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At the beginning, it was oftentimes that we had the conversation. So how do they do it in your house? How do they do it in, well, this is how my mom used to do it. And then the resolving point was like, how is going to be the Machado Rodriguez way? How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
But there was, again, a whole lot of conversation. We did not have the premarital counseling that is offered right now.
Take advantage of that. If you are in a relationship or soon to jump into a relationship, Mountain has some great resources for that, especially the Courageous Conversation.
Yeah.
For couples class, or find a community, find a pastor, find somebody that could give you some premarital counsels to lean into those things, because they will save you so much time.
Time and heartache and the tears. You're talking about all these things ahead of time. And so then when the time comes, you know what you're going to do, or at least you know you're able to tackle it together.
Yeah, plenty of really great resources, especially even around Mountain. You mentioned Courageous Conversations for Couples. A lot of really, really good resources where other people speak in and ask really, really hard questions before you even enter into a marriage. And I don't even think you have to be married to go through that class. I could be wrong, but it's for dating. It's for dating.
If you're considering, you're just the thought of, just go through it.
Go through it.
All about
and
strengthening.
again, it's not, how can I change the person that is going with me? No. Go with the humble heart. It's like, what can I learn? What is God trying to tell me? What is God trying to do in me and through me so I can be a better person, or I can be a better spouse someday?
That's great.
I got one more nugget.
Go for it.
I think the one nugget is each other. Remember this, that after the relationship with God, the most powerful relationship is with each other. So if you have a significant other that you do in a relationship or in a marriage relationship right now, I think the one thing that we need to provide is a safe place. This took a lot of time from us to develop, but we created a safe zone. Like when we call each other and say, Cary, I need you to pray for me right now. Drop what you're doing, pray for me right now. That's probably, as a man, a couple of things that are happening for me. Number one, temptations are there. And her knowing that temptations are in front of me, and she is one of my number one go-to persons, that provides safety and grace. So I think feeling that a lot of couples will have a fight over what happened. Why are you looking to the left? Why are you looking to the right? Or why this temptation came to you? Why this other temptation came to you? Oh, you're not clean with God? You're not fair with God? Like, instead of that judging mentality, it's the providing the safety net to have a conversation, say, thank you, because I could go to you and you could pray with me. And I'm telling you, it takes time. It takes vulnerability. It takes authenticity. It takes realness. It takes truly openness of a man to come back and say, hey, this is what's going through. And a lot of these things are self-awareness. Like what is God is trying to do in you to transform, and you inviting your spouse to be in that area too, of transparency. It has helped us a lot. Safe place. Remember that.
And in some ways, that's, what marriage is created to be. So as much as you can do that, that's really good. Well, thank you guys. Are there any other resources maybe you would point people to?
I think the first one that I would say is my friend Dave and Ashley Willis created this podcast called The Naked Marriage. It talks about the realness of intimacy and romance, and we have learned a lot from them. They are a great resource for us.
Yeah, you have these questions you can probably ask in private, and I'm like, who am I going to ask these questions? Well, they do it with so much love, grace, and biblical truth that is like, yes, tell me, because I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Or so Naked Marriage.
Naked Marriage is a great resource.
Is really good.
We mentioned a couple already. The Five Love Language by Gary Chapman is a good book, a good resource. If you want to get a good laugh your way to a better marriage, it's a great resource too.
Well, thank you guys again. And I'm sure there's plenty of more resources we can toss in the show notes. So we'll make that available for everyone who's listening. I just want to say thanks again. I learned a lot. I know a lot of other people will learn a lot too, just hearing your experience and your story. Thanks for being honest and being real. I'll say too, I'm grateful for you all coming on and sharing just the ways you love and serve one another. And also you're a really great example of a marriage who exists in our community that not only exists to love and serve one another, but the ways you serve in our community together is a really cool thing to witness daily, weekly, and yearly. So thanks again for being a part of it.
Thanks for having us.
Let's go.
This was a really fun conversation with Luis and Cary Machado. I loved their energy and their ability to give practical wisdom, offering us daily, weekly, and yearly practices to sustain the kind of marriages that we were meant to have. So helpful. This podcast is a resource of Mountain Christian Church in Maryland, and our door is always open as you explore what you believe, so feel free to reach out and connect anytime. And to find links to resources you heard about today, check out the show notes. If you found this conversation helpful, please share it with a friend. Thanks for being here. Until next time, take care, and know that we are walking alongside you.